This week on Capital Connection, we take a close look at a central Illinois race for here in the State House, where Democrats are trying to gain even more ground.
If I could move into the legislature as a Democrat, you're going to have access that a Republican doesn't have.
House Republican Brandon Schweizer is trying to hold on to his seat after he took over for Representative Mike Marin.
I'm here representing the people of the district, for downstate Illinois, not the people up there in Chicago.
And former Illinois Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger came back to his home state. We talked to him about the campaign trail and why he's campaigning for Vice President Harris.
I truly think the future of democracy is at stake.
It's all coming up on Capital Connection.
From the Illinois State Capitol Rotunda, Capitol Bureau Chief Cole Hankey is asking the tough questions. This is Capital Connection.
Welcome to Capital Connection. I'm Cole Hankey. Now, after the November elections, nobody is expecting House Republicans to have broken the supermajority for Democrats here in the Capitol, but they are hoping to chip away at some of that power. And to do that, they need to not only win back a few new seats, they also have to hold on to the seats that they already have. Enter the 104th State House District here in Illinois. It covers a large chunk of Champaign County and most of Vermilion County. State Representative Brandon Schweizer currently holds that seat. He was appointed last year to replace Representative Mike Marin. Now, Schweizer is trying to hold on to that seat, but he's facing a strong opponent in Jarrett Clem, who has the backing of local labor unions. Now, we sat down with both candidates this week, and first we're going to go to our full interview with Brandon Schweizer, where we talk about his slow start here in the Capitol and his plans for what would effectively be his first full term. Here's our interview with State Representative Brandon Schweizer. State Representative Brandon Schweizer, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. So we have an election in a little over a month. You had been appointed to the seat a year ago, now officially running for the office. What has the message for you been on the campaign trail, especially in one where you're likely still a relatively unknown candidate for the people in this district?
Yeah, so it's just continue on with the traditions that have been, this seat has been held, by a Republican for, probably over 40 years, I'd say. So it's been a long time, and really, the people in this district, really want to continue that on, and just trying to continue on the good things that, the representatives before me did. And so just trying to push that message out there that, I'm here representing the people of the district, for downstate Illinois, not the people up there in Chicago.
What are those continuations of policies from the previous, from Mike Marin's time in office and the previous Republicans in office? What are those specific policies that you're looking to push for in the Capitol?
Yeah, so it's really trying to do what we can to lower property taxes. The state is number 2 in the nation for property taxes, so really trying to drive that to get the folks in the legislature to understand that we can't continue to keep taxing and spending our way into prosperity. That's not how it works. You got to take care of the folks downstate. You got to take care of the middle class people, and continue to tax and spend is not the way to do that.
Is that the biggest issue facing this community right now? So obviously your district includes a lot of Champaign County, but also has Vermilion County as well. We've seen some pretty major job providers close down in this area, specifically in Danville recently. Is the taxation really the issue that people here care the most about?
Yeah, I'd say overall it's it's the economy in general, and the taxes are just an added burden to that. So when you have a lot of folks that lose their job, especially when Quaker decided to pack up and leave the area, that was 510 jobs that the community of Danville, Vermilion County, the greater area here lost. And it's very hard when you look at just the average salary that someone was making there, roughly $45,000 to $50,000. I mean, that's almost $20 to $25 million that this central Illinois community just lost, and it's very hard to overcome that. And so when you're continuing to lose those jobs because they want to move into states that are a little more business friendly, and then we continue to raise our taxes, it just puts an added burden onto the folks that are deciding to stay here because this is their home.
Your opponent in this race, Jarrett Clem, has union backing. He often touts his membership from the union for a lot of his candidacy, and he's really pushing for. You hear a lot from him about mentorship programs, apprenticeship programs, trying to build up the trades and the pipeline to get people into those trades. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the way he's proposing those messages, and as well what your kind of opposing message is in that regard, and how if you see that as the path forward, and if you do, if you have a different path to get there.
Yeah, so I mean, he's not the only union member that is in this race. I'm a part of the IBEW, Local 538 here in Danville. So I view kind of the apprenticeship program and, you know, the same way that we did, you know, in the Marine Corps. So you have the junior Marines that come in, you know, I see the apprenticeship program as kind of us mentoring our junior Marines. So you start out, you kind of walk them through that path of, you know, what their job is going to be, and then you continue on as they progress throughout their time in the union. And, you know, I feel that it's, you know, there's a very strong desire for that around this community here. And I've grown up my entire life, you know, every male in my family is part of a union. You know, my father was, my biological father was a 40-year member of the Cement Masons. My grandfather was a 50-year member of the Cement Masons. So a long tradition of union members. And when I had the opportunity with the job I had with Danville to become a part of the union, you know, I jumped on that. I felt, you know, a sense of pride because that was something that I didn't have as the only male in my family that wasn't a part of a union. So I feel strongly that there is a big spot for the unions in this, you know, in this community, in this country. And when there was a need for it, there was a company in Champaign that the folks were trying to unionize. The company, people were trying to unionize throughout the nation. You know, I wrote a letter of support in for them, and when they were down there, they weren't picketing, but they were, you know, parked the trucks outside the facility just kind of show solidarity. I went down there and shook some hands and let them know that I wrote a letter of support for them. I believe that there is a strong place for unions because, you know, a lot of folks, they just want to work. They don't have to worry about, you know, trying to negotiate their salaries. They don't have to worry about, you know, their medical and that kind of stuff. They just want to get out there and they want to work, and the unions help them do that. They don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff. And if they're, you know, accused of doing something that they don't believe that they did, the union's there to have their back to help them fight through that. And so there's a strong place in this world for unions, and I support them 100%.
For the conversation around attracting job creators here, attracting businesses, attracting just more labor opportunities for people in this community, specifically the Danville community, what advantage does a Republican candidate, you yourself, what advantage do you have in that regard when it comes to how the state house operates, considering if you're reelected, you're likely going into another supermajority or superminority Republican caucus? What advantages do you have in that? How do you see yourself bringing those opportunities to Danville when you have that steep hill right off the bat there?
Yeah, so it's definitely an uphill battle, but I feel, you know, I have a good advantage being a Republican because I, you know, pride myself on being very personable when it comes, you know, to being able to interact with folks. You know, 21 years in the Marine Corps, you know, I've interacted with a lot of different people from all different types of backgrounds, and really being a good leader is trying to understand how you can talk to someone and really get your point across to them and let them know that, okay, this is what I want. This is either what I want to do or this is what I want you to do, and this is why I want to do it. You can't just go in there with the mindset of, you know, this is what needs to be done because this is because I think it needs to be done. You have to go in there and be able to articulate and explain why you want something to get done. And I think my time in the Marine Corps serviced me well in being able to do that, going down there and making some great connections on the other side of the aisle. That way, when I do have a bill that I feel strongly about and want to pass, I can talk to them about it and be like, hey, I'm not doing this because, you know, I'm a Republican. I'm not doing this because I'm, you know, I want my, you know, certain agenda met. I'm doing this because my community needs this. And so I'm really trying to focus in on making those connections, and I think I've done a great job.
You stepped into the Capitol on effectively a one-year term, taking over for Mike Marin after his quick retirement there, and I'm curious. We didn't hear a lot from you in the Capitol as far as legislation was concerned. You didn't have that political background, you know, before you took that office. How much of this past term was just kind of trying to understand the process, and how do you feel like that kind of sets you up for a potential I guess you would call it a second term in office.
Yeah, no, I think it helped me out, and you're 100% correct. It was really get down there and trying to understand, okay, what's the process of being able to get things done, because I didn't have a political background at all. And so when I went down there, I was really trying to focus in on, okay, what does it take to be able to get something passed, especially being in a super minority. Like, if I want something done, how am I going to be able to accomplish that? And so trying to sit back, understand, how basically the whole system works. So if you want to get a bill called, you got to get it, get into committee first. And if you want to get it onto the House, there's processes to go through, and really trying to understand those processes and who the key players are to be able to talk to. So when you do want something, when I do want to get a bill passed, I can easily go down there and talk to these people, the folks, and say, hey, I want this bill to be called, and this is why I want it to be done. Not just, putting the bill in there and hoping that it's going to get called. It takes communication, it takes relationships to be able to get that done, being in a super minority.
Now that you're running for your own term, you're not finishing out the previous incumbent's term, do you have a legislative agenda? Do you have some top priorities that you see yourself taking in this first full term if you're elected?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really trying to focus in on, job creation and what it takes to bring jobs to the community and into the state. Because I think that is going to have the trickle-down effect that we need to be able to lower the taxes. So if you can get more jobs to come into the state, you're going to get more people to come in to work in those jobs. If you get more people to come in and work in those jobs, it's going to take the tax burden off of those of us that are here. It's going to release that a little bit, so we don't continue to raise our tax rate on the folks of us that are here. We can raise our tax base instead. And so really trying to understand how that, what we can do in order to get that done. We have high property taxes, so we need to kind of try to eliminate or alleviate some of those to be able to bring in businesses. We have a high unemployment rate insurance for businesses, like 8.25%, I think it is. And so really trying to understand why businesses want to move to certain states and how we can mirror that to make this state a little more successful and business friendly, so we can bring in those jobs.
That's been in the same vein, a priority for Governor Pritzker's administration. We saw just this past week he announced a new manufacturing apprenticeship initiative. He's been trying to attract maybe these newer industries. You talk about electric vehicles, you talk about chip manufacturers, the quantum computing, all of that. He's looking towards these future industries in this way. What have you thought about the current approach from the state for job creation, job attraction in that way? And do you think there should be a different approach with that?
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think I am well enough versed to be able to appropriately talk about that, but I will give my personal views on it. With all these new manufacturing, the jobs that they're trying to push in have to do a lot with the EV stuff, a lot with the solar, which is all good. I believe we do have a lane for those type of for that industry. However, we can't be pushing that on the people itself. Like, you have to let the market, base whether or not that is what the people want. And by pushing it on people, having the government push those industries or push the EV mandates or the solar mandates on communities or individuals is not the appropriate way to do it. You got to allow the market to fluctuate and to actually see if there is a place for that, instead of just pushing it on people, because people don't like the government to be pushing stuff on them.
When you're out about talking to people in the district, trying to drum up the support that you need to win this election, how do you contrast yourself with your opponent in that regard? There's the job creation components there. You said yourself you're a union member, but he's got the money coming from labor unions in this race. How do you contrast yourself as the better option when it comes to those key topics facing this community?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that like I said earlier, that I try to focus on is how we can lower taxes. I have no political background, but my opponent's trying to pin that I'm a career politician, which is 100% untrue. And then when it comes to him, he's in an elected position on the Parkland board. And for the last 3 years, he has voted to increase the property taxes of the folks in Champaign County. He's only been on the board 3 times. He's increased property taxes 3 times. So it's really trying to let the people know that I'm against the tax raises. I don't think we need to tax and spend our way that's not an appropriate way to do so. I voted against, relinquishing the grocery tax. I have voted, against the budget, the tax increases in the budget. And so I'm trying to fight to lower our taxes, that burden that we have. And my opponent has shown that he's doing the exact opposite.
When I spoke with your opponent, he did more so talk about that inexperience from the fact that you were a newcomer to the scene when you took over the office there. That was his key focus. I mean, do you see that as a disadvantage in a race like this when you're running against somebody who you said he had the Parkland board position but has never held like a state political office in this way?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's an advantage or a disadvantage in my opinion. I have a strong military background, strong leader. I've proven leadership qualities, so I believe that just getting into the political realm of it is basically just leading and being a good representative of the people, trying to understand what the needs are, trying to understand what the people around here want, and then being able to go to Springfield and articulate that to the legislature down there and try to fight for what the people around here want. And in my opinion, it's a big. They really want some relief when it comes to property tax, taxes in general, the economic relief. We keep taxing, the folks. We keep increasing all the prices for things around here, and the people are getting sick and tired of it. And I think having a strong voice to be able to go to Springfield and articulate that is what is needed.
All right. Well, Representative, thank you so much for speaking to me today.
Yeah, thank you.
When we come back, we sit down one-on-one with Schweizer's opponent, Jarrett Clem. We'll be right back.